cooperation with the partnership, the parking authority, and allotting money for the police department to cover 8 weeks of coverage on a Friday and Saturday night from 3 to 11. And I know Ms. Conti has come before us, and I thank you for representing so many of the residents and bringing everything to us. And we definitely are going to have a subcommittee. So at this time, I would like to move the first 5 bar licenses and omit Summer 13 and agree upon those, knowing that we are going to take everything into a subcommittee and we are going to hear it. We've had lots of discussion on it. I don't know what else that we can actually say besides what has taken place in the past and reiterating it over and over and over again. I know we've had lots of discussion individually and as a group about what can take place. So if we move that.
I'd like to have the opportunity to address a couple of the concerns that have been raised by the public. And to clarify a couple of things that was in that. Mr. Armington, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think that the mayor's traffic study hopefully will address a lot of the issues. The subcommittee, though they don't seem to historically happen very well, I believe that my involvement and other members will make it work. I think that at this point we do have frankly some leverage over the bars as they contemplate how are they going to participate in the subcommittee and their willingness to work with the administration and the council on this. And once all the liquor licenses are granted, their leverage is gone. I would actually like to offer the possibility of the council staying the application for under the ABC code. It can be stayed for up to 90 days, which requires an added interim permit, and that would give the council subcommittee the urgency to work through this. I don't think there's any reason to believe that the council would deny these licenses, because clearly the bars have good records for the most part, and they're good participants in the town. But some of the issues, such as the clear legal rights to use the town property, though we don't have any legal opinion from our attorney as to what that is, I think poses some questions which should be answered.
Okay, so you're asking for a 90-day stay?
Not necessarily a 90-day stay. I would propose that we stay the opinion until the council subcommittee comes to a resolution.
Okay, so then my question is to the attorneys. How does that affect the applicants?
The problem is that the applications for next year are due for July 1st. So the applicants would have to go down to Trenton, I guess, tomorrow and file an interim permit, cost of additional money. I know that it's a little bit of a headache. I had a brief conversation with the counsel for the applicant just to ask them what the process was. I don't know if you guys want to come up and just walk through what you need to do in order to get it, just so the council has an idea of the logistics of getting the interim permit.
Is it $75?
Okay.
$75.
Why don't we let them explain so we can go through that whole process so everybody hears the same thing, and then we can make more comments.
While they're there, I'm somewhere along the same line, but I was wondering whether or not we have to renew for the whole year. Do we have to renew for the whole year? You do.
All right, attorneys, please.
If the township does not act, or any governing body does not act by July 1st, and I mean, they don't do anything. They don't take a vote for or against. The licensees are forced to apply for, as Mr. Winters said, an odd interim permit. The permit, I believe the clerk has it, but they're online. It's an application that has to be filled out by the licensee and endorsed by the municipality. The minimum fee for the first 30 days is $225. You can then apply for another 30 or 60 days, depending on what the town states their reason for failing to act, failing to have a meeting. I've never seen one where they stay the decision pending a subcommittee meeting in the future. That would be something that might be considered, but that's somewhat unique. The costs involved are the fees of $225 each time, which doesn't seem to be a heck of a lot of money when you hear that. But here's the real problem. You have to go down now between Wednesday and Friday and get this permit. Every municipality in the state will have certain problems, not related to this, but because municipalities have already voted and licensees did not have tax clearance. So they have to go down if they receive tax clearance after the municipality met and get an odd-interim permit. So what I'm telling you, tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday will be very busy in Trenton. You're asking these licensees now to maybe be there for 1 or 2 days waiting in line, depending on the volume. It seems to be a hardship. Based on what's before you tonight, I would encourage you to vote for the renewal. You have the licensee, the Iron Bar that I'm representing, and several others that are here tonight saying that they will participate. I don't think that you really want to do that to them. I've never seen that done in over a 30-year career doing ABC work where a board has denied to renew a license based on that premise. And I'll let Mr. Henshaw make his comments.
I really have nothing to add. I've just participated in the mayhem that entails going down at the end of the year. For some reason, the state's decided all the licenses come due on the same day, and it becomes a real headache. They don't up their staff down in Trenton to deal with this. They just let it happen. I think it's particularly egregious here to do that because it's clear that the complaints don't relate to alcohol or beverage-related issues. The purpose behind these licenses is not for property maintenance code. It's not for smoke abatement. It's to effectuate the purpose of the alcohol and beverage control law, which we didn't hear anything tonight about those issues as they relate to alcohol. So it's truly problematic, and I appreciate the spirit which is intended, and I assure you my client intends to participate. We have other restaurants in Morristown that we've run for years, so we're motivated to participate and get this done properly. That's not a good way to start a group, is to force everyone into this financial and legal hardship.
I would just like to say, in hindsight, that clearly the effort here is to not only address the 6 bars that are under consideration, which have been challenged. I'm sure that there are concerns by other bar owners on Morris and Washington, but the residents haven't come out, so it does pose a problem to approve the licenses of the others and delay these. So I think we should have a discussion about that.
So, I guess I'd like to cover something briefly. And to Mrs. Teeple's question about why conditions at one location and then a broader discussion that seems maybe less stringent at another location. I think that the concerns that were voiced about a license in a new location were raised because of what is seen as now occurring in locations where we have more licenses. So to that end, I would say it helped us understand that we have a situation that has to be dealt with, but in the course of the hearing for 10 DeHart Street, we have all of this going on at once. There's a lot of layers to kind of peel apart. I think one thing that was said by Mr. Walsh, the owner of the proposed building that we go to 10 DeHart, is this is sort of everybody's problem. It's not one establishment. And as I think about it, and we have residents here saying that governing body, the town as a whole, needs to be proactive and not reactive. We need to plan. Some things have happened that we wouldn't have foreseen. We can learn from them. Again, to restate what I said earlier, I think the intention of the group now is to be proactive, come up with a solution that addresses not just the current situation, but is also flexible enough that as the town continues to grow and licenses do move to other areas, that it's in a planned way and in a way that we have the resources to provide the health and safety measures that we have to provide. So I can't the importance of the work that we have ahead of us this summer. But again, I have to say that these particular licenses that are before us, these renewals, the objections that we've heard are primarily not related solely to alcohol. And so I would support renewing these licenses at this time with every intention of solving the bigger problem right away. So I'm giving a second to my motion. Please, that's a second.
Yes.
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 I appreciate the mayor's comments about providing a sort of a walkable enforcement from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. And that I think he said he was willing to fund it for the next 4 months, if I heard that correctly.
2 months, 8 weeks.
2 months?
Out of town budget.
So I guess my question there is that being, one of my first concerns there is that taxpayer money? And why is taxpayer money being spent when clearly this is a public safety cost that is impacting us, that is caused directly by the patrons of the bar owners? So I'm very concerned about the precedent that that's going to set. At the ABC hearing 2 times ago when we were discussing, the last AB hearing with Ken DeHart, Billy Walsh stated very clearly that he'd be willing to work with, on a committee, and he stated that for the record. And I know that we didn't act at that time to create this subcommittee then, but I guess I see the process kind of simpler. I see it as a legal agreement, a binding agreement between the bar owners to create some sort of funding mechanism that's going to pay for the security and the noise control and the public safety costs. I don't see an ordinance, I don't see regulation, I don't see anything other than the Morristown Partnership, which is the business entity for the town to promote economic development and revitalization. I don't see anything more than their attorney sitting down with the bar owners as a third party coming up with a legal agreement. I think a subcommittee is a nice idea. I'm all for voting for the renewal of these licenses now, not to create any more burden, and I would make a motion to start a legal agreement, a binding agreement that would be created by either our counselor or Morristown Partnership attorney to look at that, because I think it's that simple.
I would just
Is
like
there a
to
second
caution,
on that motion?
I'd just like to caution that,
Motion on the floor
that,
that
I have a
doesn't
motion,
relate to.
because they want the same thing,
We
then
need
you have
to
a
dispose
motion
of the
there, so
motion
let's
on the
do
floor.
first, and they go back to her second.
I would just like to caution once again that if we're pulling the council decision-making out of any effort to develop an answer for this, if it's solely on the bars to come up with an answer and potentially shell out thousands of dollars of their profits to improve the community at large, I would say that we should definitely hold off on approving, because we have they have no incentive to come up with an agreement once their licenses are approved. If, however, it becomes a council decision, then there is less need to delay the approval of these licenses.
We have a council liaison to the Morristown Partnership. She represents this governing body. That's one of the roles of having benefits and advantages of having a liaison. And that's not to say that she can incorporate the input from the residential community into that legal binding document. I just feel like that would streamline the process, and really I don't see it as a regulatory sort of thing, an ordinance. I see it as a legal agreement. We've discussed that it's really all 22 bar license owners in town. It's not really just fair to hone in on one group. I understand what you're saying, and I see the point for having input, but I also think we have that
structure already in place. So Councilwoman Deeb, I want to thank you, and I want to say that for at least a year and a half, and probably longer, you've heard it too as liaison to the partnership, this has been an issue that's been debated and addressed, and there have been all kinds of conversations, and really an inability to come to terms that would really solve the problem. I would say that there have been a couple of concepts presented at the partnership board meetings, both of which are now ready for this subcommittee to explore and take action on. But I do think that the solution to be proactive, flexible, and long-term will need to be a legislative one. And in fact, whether it's an agreement that we have to adopt or it's legislation, there are again 4 or 5 different ways we might go at this. Ultimately, it will be the decision of this governing body to make it happen. And I'm confident that we can. I too am concerned about that interim added cost to the taxpayer. Chief Devins testified at the hearing regarding 10 to Heart that we're already now having 8 police officers working on Friday and Saturday nights. My recollection from earlier budget discussions a few years ago was that number was maybe 5 people. And I think we all have a sense that of what this additional policing that's required might cost. It could be up to 1 point on the tax rate. And in an era of a 2% cap, that's a real issue. So we have, I don't think any of us are taking this lightly and are eager to get working on it right away.
So at this point, a motion has been made, it's been
Yes.
second, and we're going to take it.
Can we repeat the motion?
Yes.
Well, I have,
For the record, it's
You want me to-
$100 a month.
you have the license number.
Not 1.2.
I just have the license number from the
Yeah, I think some of those are, the numbers are, the generation numbers are wrong.
Okay.
You want me to read a form? I'm now renewing these licenses without condition.
Well, this motion is for everyone but Sona 13.
Yeah.
So if you want to make the motion and include the other 6 bars, the other 5 bars,
Yeah.
and that's fine.
Yeah, and I would say the form of the resolution would be R9912. And I'll read a brief form of resolution. It appears that the applications are in proper form, proper license fees have been paid, investigations of various set premises have been made. Now therefore be it resolved that plenary retail consumption licenses be granted to the following applicants for a term beginning July 1st, 2012, ending June 30th, 2013. And the town clerk is authorized to issue said licenses and deliver same on behalf of the town council of the town of Morristown. Those licenses in question would be the Iron Bar, 14/24/33/029/14, Vale Liquor License Corp., which is Roots, 14/24/33/032/008,
Roots Urban Table.
Roots Urban Table, this was. DeHart Ventures LLC, Dark Horse, 14/24/33/033/007. The Office of Morristown LLC, 14/24/33/037/009, and
Cash. The Hart
DeHart Associates, Taj Move, 14/24/33/022/011. And that is the resolution on the table is R99. Mr. Armington,
Yes.
Ms. Deeb,
Yes.
Ms. Feldman,
Yes.
Mr. Giselle,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith-Reed,
Yes.
Council President Harris,
Yes.
and
100.
I guess 100 would be for
Sona 13, we're going to ask Councilman Giselle to recuse himself if he has a conflict.
No.
And so the offer resolution are 100, the renewal of Sona 13, which is 13 South Street, 13 South Group LLC, 14/24/33/034/007. Do I have a maker?
Second.
And I note that Mr. Giselle has recused himself from this vote and left the dais. On the adoption of R100, Mr. Armington,
Yes.
Ms. Deeb,
Yes.
Ms. Feldman,
Yes.
Mrs. Smith-Reed,
Yes.
Council President Harris.
Yes.
Resolution is adopted.
Okay, at this time,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
correspondence,
Sure, thank you, Mr. Williamson.
none?
Michelle,
Yes.
can I make a comment? Am I allowed to?
We come out of
Yeah, it'll be,
yes.
yeah, it'll be very good. Just want the, Councilwoman Feldman mentioned something about it could be a point of tax. I just wanted to think the taxpayers to think that what we're doing for 8 weeks is a point of tax. It's about $7,400 a month.
Oh, yeah, no.
So I don't want the public to be misled by that comment. The second thing is, just so the council knows and the public knows, yes, tax dollars are being used, but it's coming out of the police budget, which has extra money in it, because we still have a couple positions we have to fill. So 8 weeks is not a burden to the taxpayers when the money's already in the budget, slated for hiring police that we have not been able to hire yet. And better to have those 8 weeks of safety than not, so I think it's the right point to do, and I think it's the right decision. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this point, we're